All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. on December 4th, 2023 at the town hall upstairs. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see we have a pretty good audience today. Somebody make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. And we'll make the change. So we'll.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of November 20th, 2023. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented?
You want to correct them?
Yeah.
On page 3. 3/4 of the way down, it's after Wilbur's time step on wastewater.
What did it say?
Says that the river titers will be reimbursed by the grant, and that is not right.
The attorney?
No, Wilbur.
We didn't know if that was the case or not.
Right,
We
that's
weren't
not,
sure either. That's why we
Now you-
corrected.
but now we do know it, so I don't know if we want to correct it. Her time will not be
Well,
reimbursed.
it will not be, yeah, that's what they told us this week,
Yeah.
we asked.
I think at that time of the minutes is what,
We didn't know.
We didn't know. Yeah, so we need to correct.
That's how we asked the next day.
I understand that it's different, but I think we need to. Go ahead.
It happened in the meeting, so that's what the minutes was referring to,
Oh.
what happened in the meeting, not
Yeah.
what you learned in the meantime.
So we leave it alone.
Yeah.
All right.
We didn't know at the time, but now we do.
Are there any other corrections to the minutes as presented? If not, all in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Wait, can we have somebody move and second?
I didn't, didn't you?
Second, I thought, but
Okay,
I'm not sure.
That's what I thought.
okay, sorry.
Okay, I guess we have, professional auditors. Can you hear us?
I think we're working on it.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes, perfect. Sorry, I had a little audio technical difficulty there for a second.
No problem, it always happens.
So yeah, thanks for having me here tonight to present the 2023 annual audit report. I want to just take a few minutes, kind of go through the audit report, let you know what you're looking at, kind of go through some of the things that I took some time today to kind of go through and make quick highlights of things I thought were interesting during the year. And then if there's anything at the end with questions, we can take them then. So yeah, looking at the audit report, there's obviously a lot of information here. It's like a 40-page document. My job is all kind of based on those 4 pages, 1 through 4. That's the actual audit report itself. The rest of this is the financial statement of the town, which is the responsibility of the town management accounting department throughout the year to deal with all the transactions, property taxes, other revenues, paying bills, paying payroll, all the transactions that happen through the year. My job is to come in and test those transactions, account balances, confirm debt balances, cash balances. And this audit report is the result of, this 4 pages is the result of that work. When you have an audit report, you can have qualified, unqualified, or adverse. The only qualification to the report for the town of Grafton was the same as what's been in the last few years, related to the investments being carried at market rather than cost. And that is, again, one of those things that the standards for modified cash basis of accounting would require you to carry your investments at cost, not market. Although, as your auditor, I have to say I would probably prefer them to be a market because markets are more accurate information. But the standards say cost, so I have to at least qualify the report for that. But other than that, that was the only qualification to the report. The rest of the funds that didn't have investments with them were all unqualified in the opinion. Kind of looking at page 7, this is the assets, liabilities, and fund balances, which some people would refer to as the balance sheet of the town of Grafton for the major funds that for at 6/30/23 listing your assets and liabilities. What it does is when it would take your assets minus your liabilities, and you see the bottom section called the fund balances, which lists your fund balances, restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned. You can see that your total fund balance in the general fund is 749,112. The thing that I kind of pointed out is looking at the unassigned fund balance, which is 255.99, which is a good healthy fund balance. And last year I noticed that when I looked at last year's report, that assigned or unassigned fund balance was a negative 744. So there was obviously a buildup of that unassigned fund balance during the year. And again, all the other funds here, the major funds, ARPA, library, capital projects, shows you the balance sheet for those individual funds as well. And if you look at the next page, page 8, this is basically the income statement, consolidated income statement of what happened in all the funds from revenues to expenses for the year. And as you can see, the big, looking at down the general fund, third line from the bottom, you see net changes in fund balances. That's the increase in your total fund balances for the year. And you'll see that was 416,233. And as you know, when I was looking through the numbers earlier, it was pretty clear that a lot of that was related to some FEMA revenues that came in during this year for what I think were probably expenses in prior years. Looking at the other funds, again, we got the capital projects, ARPA, library, all showing the activity for here, as well as the trustee of public funds. Kind of looking at pages 9 through 15, this is your budget actual. You've probably seen a lot of these throughout the year during your financial presentations from the treasurer. This is just an actual looking at the budget and actual for the whole year and how the year ended up. Again, the thing that struck out to me is looking at page 1 of 7. You see the FEMA revenues coming in at 476,528 above budget, which if you look at the rest of the numbers on page 11, you'll see a sewage study that was done for about 27,700 of expense. When you look at those two numbers, that pretty much makes up the increase in the fund balance for the year. You know, a lot of the other funds, there were over and under here or there, but nothing significant that I wanted to point out. If you're looking at pages 18 to 35, these are what we call the notes to the financial statements. If you're looking to do a deep dive on any of the items related to cash, what's insured, what's uninsured, fund balances, what's this committed for, what's this reserved for, looking at all the different notes and debt balances and interest rates. If you're looking for more information on that kind of stuff, this is a great place to go to get a deep dive into a lot of the balance sheet accounts and a lot of the fund balances. And so if you're looking for that, that information is there and available. Looking at pages 36 and 37, again, this is your balance sheet and income statement related to your private purpose trust funds and all the different funds for that, and kind of taking it fund by fund. And then the final 2 pages of the report, 38 and 39, that's the internal control letter. As part of a review of the audit procedures that we do, if we find any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that that we find during the audit, we have to report those into the report. And as you can see, there was no letter of significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, so there were none noted. We did issue a management letter with a couple things we mentioned about possibly doing a fraud risk assessment. And also, again, because we had a qualifications report, we always have to mention the investments, carrying them at cost rather than market. But like I said, I've got to put that in the recommendation, but I'm not sure it's any advantage to the town to do that other than removing the qualification, because I still feel it's pretty good to have those numbers in market. It gives you much more usable information in my mind, but obviously not in the standards. Other required communications that I have for this meeting. We encountered no difficulties in dealing with management. We had no disagreements with management. There were no consultations with other accountants or auditors. And all entries that we suggested were all posted, so there was no unposted entries for the financial statements. So overall, again, another successful audit for the town of Grafton. I talked to my partner, Chad, and my manager, Jenna, kind of went through they did a lot of the field work on it, and they thought it went very smoothly, and wanted me to mention appreciated to all the staff for helping them out during the course of the audit. Does anybody have any questions?
I guess there are no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
I hope you have a great night.
Yeah. All right. The listers. You're on, where are you?
Right here.
Okay.
Around the corner.
There you go.
Every year we have to come before you at the last December meeting to file any errors and omissions that we found during the year in the filing of our grand list and the running of the taxes. There was one error this year, which was inadvertently caused by when we turned over our CessPro into a NIMRIC tax base. One entity, the Grafton Historical Society, was deemed to be taxable. That's not taxable, so we had to correct that, and that was worth $5,478.64. That was taken away from revenue, which it never should have been there in the first place. So the listers have signed this. We recommend that you approve it with a motion, and that you need to sign it on the back, and we'll give this to Morgan. And you can take care of it. Are there any questions? That is the only error that we found. Thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion to accept this as a.
I would make a motion to accept it, and then you just sign it. It goes to Kim, and Kim has to record it and attach it to the grant.
Okay, so somebody like a motion to accept the errors and omission report.
So moved.
Any discussion? Any questions? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let's give us a minute here and we'll get this thing signed. Okay, who is here to, talk about the, DOREC grant?
That's me.
Yes,
I am Meg Gonzalez. I am here representing the Grafton Outdoor Alliance. Are you all familiar with that group? Basically, it's pretty much anybody who is dependent on tourism for either outdoor recreation or education, also the businesses here. Earlier this year, the group got together, really trying to see basically how the town can improve the visitor experience when we have people coming to Grafton, as well as the experience that residents have. They're looking at how to improve the flow and the connectivity of the experiences that exist here. And also how to, basically what they say is increase hang time. How can we get visitors that are coming for like an hour program somewhere to extend their stay and to have sort of a menu of opportunities for them when they come here, either to go hiking or skiing or to a program at the museum, or whether they're coming here to Village Park. So I am working part-time for the Wyndham Foundation and started attending these meetings, and I came across this grant that's being offered by the state, and basically it is an opportunity for groups or municipalities to apply for funding for different opportunities. It can be for actual implementation of projects. If you're shovel ready, it can be for projects development. They're also looking at expanding access. And then this year they put in a new one for flood recovery. So the Grafton Outdoor Alliance would like to apply for the project development, basically planning. It gives us an opportunity to create basically a master plan for outdoor recreation and education here in town. The Wyndham Foundation has graciously agreed to be the lead. You need an entity that is capable of managing the grant. As you all know, a lot of these state grants are based on reimbursement. So the Wyndham Foundation would be responsible for paying out invoices from consultants. This would allow us to hire an outdoor recreation consultant. Also for any staff time that needs to be recovered. So Morgan has been at the meetings representing the town, and also Margot Matt has been representing Village Park. So if there were activities that went on during this planning process, Morgan's time with the consultant, something like that, those could be reimbursed as long as we include them in the budget. The grant proposal is due December 15th. I basically have pulled together a draft proposal. That what we're missing is a proposal and scope of work from a consultant. We've been calling and meeting with, we meaning myself and Nick has been involved, and Owen, who is the manager of the Grafton Trails. So we've been talking to some outdoor recreation specialists in the area, and so we're still waiting for a proposal from them. So what we're asking for is basically support from the select board. We'd like it if the select board would provide a letter of support for the proposal. Again, once I get the scope of work and we're able to put together a work plan, I think I can sit down with Morgan and really see where there might be times that she would have to be working with the consultant, or if we had just to organize volunteers to go through the Village Park. Basically what they would be doing is coming and doing an assessment of what we have, seeing where there's opportunities for connectivity, As you all know, we have just so many different resources that a lot of people don't know where they can go or how to get from one place to another. We have new opportunities like Birchdale Camp now, people who are interested in getting out to the soapstone quarries, as well as our opportunities here in town, and trying to restore that village trail that the Wyndham Foundation put in, and really it lacks signage, and we lack visitor services like a central visitor center where people can find restrooms, where we could put, or where we might need to think about parking. And again, this is all just planning. None of this is anything that we have to act on, but it will set us up for being able to submit an application for implementation. And if we got this project development grant then and decided to apply for some projects, it makes us that much more competitive. So, are there any questions?
Question.
Yes.
You have minimum amount 20,000, maximum none. So what are you proposing for this grant? Or do you-
Well, so a lot of that will depend on what the consultant, that will be our biggest expense. The other expenses will again be staff time, my time for managing the grant, anything that we use, materials, there are included. And I'm happy to share a draft of the proposal with anybody who's interested. I'm planning on sending it out to the steering committee of the GOA on Wednesday, whether I have the proposals from the couple of consulting groups that we've contacted or not. But so, yeah, the minimum you can ask for is 20,000. There's no maximum. But that's just for, I only put the requirements down for the project development, because that's the only, that's the track that we're applying there.
Do you have a ballpark?
You know, the consultants have said that anything from 50 to 75,000 would be theirs. We're trying to do ours, would be basically a year, so that we could be applying for implementation this time in 2025. It depends too on what the group wants to take responsibility for. I think a lot of the community engagement could be done by our groups. I mean, everybody is so well established. You know, they're part of the town. There isn't anything that we see now for implementation that would be really super controversial anyway. But we do want input from residents and community members, you know, what kinds of obstacles have they seen, and, you know, what would they like in terms of additional signage and resources and services and that kind of thing. So a lot of these more expensive proposals have a whole community engagement plan, so where you're having focus groups and, you know, lots of meetings, where I think this could be some very strategic opportunities for people to weigh in. And again, it's all just a planning process now, so it's lots of opportunity for people to give feedback on it.
I guess, I hope in your planning that you would also not overlook the schools, especially our school here in Grafton. We're trying to promote the school through, you know, the nice things they're doing there for kids.
Outdoor education, yeah.
And also with the real estate here, when people come in and want a home, they want to know the school is, if they're gonna be a resident here. So that's the key, if you could tie all that in. Really.
That I think will be fleshed out. So what we have put in and again, this is a draft, is that we're wanting to make sure that we are facilitating use by schools and the opportunities that outdoor recreation education provide. Our school, as well as, you know, the Leland and Gray and the schools in Bellows Falls, also underserved groups now, and including looking at what are some of the challenges that our seniors here in town have getting from one place to another. And again, sort of that will be a really great opportunity to have just a big assessment and eventually a proposed master plan with implementation, complements.
Good, thank you for that.
Somebody want to make a motion, so that we can, if you'd like to send a letter of support to.
Yeah, I'll make that motion, so.
Second.
Any other discussion on that, or any other questions?
It should look, downside to it.
I don't see it, I think it's great.
Thank you very much, Jody.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, so Morgan, I guess, I don't know, you know what?
Yeah, well, I'll be in touch and I can, provide some suggested
Some language
language
or
for it
something.
as
that
well,
we
yeah.
put in there.
And again, especially after we get that scope of work, then we know exactly. what we-
Well, certainly, I think with the board here will support that, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Great,
Okay?
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. Um, The next item is, there's a letter that was drafted that is to go to all the all the houses and people who are in the so-called fire district. What we need to do now is to get an approval to send a letter out to the district. And we want to schedule a meeting on January 15th with the attorney, Steve Ancuda. That'll be a public meeting prior to a select board meeting. We don't know where it's going to be yet, but depending on the size. And to answer any questions, to understand what the whole fire district, how it gets set up, whatever it is. Along with the letter, which tries to explain it, will be a map showing the actual district and each house that's in it. So all we're looking for is approval to send this letter out to the residents in that district. Yes, Wendy?
And, can we ask some questions about this before we do? Okay, backing up a little bit, what's the deadline for the grant that you will approve? The last meeting.
2026.
So then my second follow-up, I don't want to monopolize the question
That's okay.
asking, but, I think there'll be more. What's the hurry on doing this if my understanding, when we talked about it in the meeting, I watched the meeting, is that we gotta do this like right now. Well, what's the hurry to do it now if the deadline's not for?
Well, there's no hurry. It's just that the fire district has to get organized. There has to be some leaders who are going to shepherd this thing going through.
Mhm.
So if you don't get started to see, if you have people who want to do it, I don't know exactly when the 90% will come, but I would expect probably, Seth, within the next 2 or 3
They
months.
said, they told Morgan and I last week that, like, January, I thought, right?
Yeah, so once that 90% comes, then, things start to, so the reason to get started is so that everybody understands, and it's gonna take some organization. Because remember, the town, the select board, the town we don't participate in that.
So the way you're talking about now, it sounds like you think it won't happen.
No, it won't happen.
There is no will among the.
I don't know if there is, this is
There's
why
not.
we're
I'm
having a
gonna tell you
meeting.
right now, there's not.
Okay,
So are you trying to fast track this just so you know that, and then you can proceed in a different way? Because that, I can understand that.
well, if you don't have, say I'm wrong, Seth, but if you can't get 25 people,
Yeah,
Just-
20,
or 20 people to sign the fire district, then nothing happens.
okay.
But we have to get started with the process.
Before the 90%, before knowing how much it's going to cost, that's the other.
Well, what you're doing is, you're not committing yourself to anything, you're just doing an organization meeting.
Once you're committed to making a fire district, it's really hard to untangle that.
No. What the board what we hope that would happen is that there'd be enough leaders in the town, okay, who would want to participate in this thing. The fire district has to be created first before anything can be done. And once it's done, if the fire district is approved, only the district is approved. And then if there's nobody who wants to form it, it goes away.
Oh,
It just, if you don't have a fire district, you don't have a wastewater system. but there's consequences. And so I think, I think what you have to do is see where the interest is, if there's any interest, for people to begin to have a meeting. And get a leader, get a president, get a whatever, who's going to shepherd this thing in the event that it moves forward. And what only we're trying to do is to get a public aware and the attorney to answer any questions and that takes place.
Wendy, you're right, though, if there is, I mean, once that 90% plan is there. Up until the grant expires, then if people step forward and want to form a fire district, they can. I think the whole point of this is more informational, like, here's how you do it. If you have any, there's a lot of questions about what is this fire district, how do you do it?
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's what it's for. I mean, it's all just to provide information to you guys. It's not trying to pursue an agenda or anything. It's just trying to provide information to you guys.
Yeah, so the timeline is really mysterious, because I would think that the 98% meeting would have to take place first, so the townspeople have the maximum amount of information on which they can then proceed and ask relevant questions. So I don't understand why you want to have an informational meeting about the fire district before we have the 90%.
The townspeople, it doesn't, the townspeople have no say. It's the fire district that says.
Well, the fire district, as far as I understand, consists of voters who live in the designated 84 parcel area. So those are the people I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm not talking about myself or others who are outside, but for those people, wouldn't those people need the information from the 90% meeting first before they can start intelligently thinking about the fire district?
Well, I would say not necessarily, because all this is telling you is, here's what is entailed in a fire district, so you know that. You get the 90%, if that happens, you have that meeting before, then you do the 90%, so well, we know the information on how you do form a fire district. Do we want to get through with that or not? If you don't, you don't.
And then the other question, this is just an easy one to answer. Is it 20 voters or 20 households,
See,
or a majority of the eligible voters who decide?
What I'd like, Lisa, see, we don't have all the information, and that's the reason to have the meeting on the 15th, if the board approves, so that we have the attorney and the experts here who can answer all the questions, exactly who, when, where, and how. We don't have all that knowledge. It's very complicated.
20 registered voters.
Steve Ancuda.
20 individuals were registered voters.
20 registered voters within the district.
No, if they're, yeah, but if they're, yes, right.
How many voters are there?
We'll find out.
47, some, but, yeah.
The
We
district
count, no,
was
it's not.
created by who? By Ty and Bob?
No,
Who created the map? that we're looking at?
well, the map came out, let's see if I get this right. When we applied for designation of a village center and it was approved, they took the village center. But then they had to adjust that because there are some regulations for the grant, that the money could only be used for certain parts of the village or whatever. So as far as I understand, it was a combination of taking the village center and whatever the requirements are for the grant. And that's how that was created.
But the lines of that map could be gerrymandered to change the vote, couldn't it?
No,
Why not?
those
So
lines,
if you added pieces of property that were in
no,
favor of.
you can't add a paper.
Well, you can, before that map is drawn.
No, it's drawn, it's done. That's it.
Who defined that? I mean, when did that happen? So we were also, all these property owners were included in the district without their consent.
I think it's what Joe said. I wasn't there when it happened. I think it was with that village center designation. And then it was, and I don't know why, but I wasn't around at that point.
Well, there was
Added on.
there was some requirements set about,
But that's about the village district and not about the fire.
Right.
So if you just happen to use the village district map to
We
creates
did,
fires.
we didn't use it.
No,
Who did?
I believe Ty and Bond.
and the state,
That's what my first.
and the state, and the
But
state.
Plan and Bond created that district without really polling the people who are in the district. Or
No,
on the edge.
I don't think it's true. I don't think Time One could create the district. I think that the state created the district because of the regulations.
Well, I think we ought to know who
Well,
created
we
this
can get these,
and why.
we can get these answers to these questions, but
I remember conversations with the planning
I
commission.
was gonna say, I thought the
And they were
planning
thinking
commission
that
involved in
this
this
Al
big
Sands was-
culvert, I think so back then, I think so.
This is an issue on the plane, I think there was initially a wastewater group, wasn't there, Joe?
well, the wastewater committee.
The wastewater group
Yeah.
used the septic pumping district as our first. And then we narrowed that down to the 72 properties that are right in the village that have overlapping leach trails. This map and the map we talked about in the water commission are not the same.
Okay, I didn't know.
They have some of the same properties, obviously, especially the ones that are impacted by the overlapping leach fields. But the 84 properties that are in this map are something that Ty and Bond and the representatives from the state, I believe, came up with.
That's what I believe.
And these boundaries, as you look at them, I don't know about the voting boundaries. I think Patrick has an excellent question. These are the property, these lines are those properties that could have been served by either the village park site or the Alpine Meadow site or the Howland Mill site. Because some of these properties don't have their well is a decent distance from the septic. They don't really need, if you will, a gray water system like this, like the properties in the village.
But all these questions can get answered in January. When we have the attorney and we can have anybody from Time Bond or whatever there. Yes, we understand.
So and then also at the last meeting, I think Stephanie talked about what other possible projects this grant could cover, because they widen the criteria for these grants. What are some of the other ones? Can you remind me?
Well, one thing is the point of entry systems at the houses for the PFAS. Other than that, I'm not really certain after talking to the people from the state last week. If we asked them about these alternative designs that Morgan asked them all these questions. We asked about these alternative designs that the planning commissions are working on. And they said clearly that the grant would not cover those alternative designs. One alternative design is the living machine, which is basically like a big greenhouse. They said that the grant would not cover that.
But it would cover water filtration system in the village. for people
Possibly.
affected.
Possibly.
Because I then would ask this question, what are the infrastructure issues facing the town? I would say people who can't drink their water, who live right in town for months and months now, that's a big issue. This, what you're proposing, would not solve that problem. We have things like power outages. I know this grant won't cover that, but these are things that we don't talk about ever. Doesn't get talked about in serious way. We have a big bridge project coming. There's so many big things happening that this feels like, and I'm gonna be really honest about something too. You have a board member who will benefit from this wastewater project, and I'm uncomfortable with, I know you haven't made a decision yet, but it's really, I think it's inappropriate for that person to be discussing, proposing, whatever. And also, I would say down the line, if there is some sort of a legal thing that happens, say we in this fire district, we need to get legal representation and then look back at how this all played out. These are some of my concerns. So.
There will be more than just one option presented at the 90% report, just so you know.
That's new.
This is good to know before we form a fire district that we cannot
Yeah,
get
but
out of. We can't get out of it.
The fire, I wouldn't think the fire district would be formed until, obviously, after you get the 90% report. The point of the attorney can just answer questions. You have questions like, what is the fire district? We only know so much. Certainly give you, you know, it's a question and answer type.
Did you understand that when you say these things in a meeting, and I write about them in the Grafton News, it causes a panic in town? And it's Christmas time, I'm sorry, it's the holiday season, and whether you celebrate or not, and then you say, we're changing lawyers, and this is happening, and boom, 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 everything seems like it's being sped up for some reason. And you just said you don't think it's gonna be formed until after the 90% meeting, that's huge.
Well, it
that you
couldn't be.
said.
I mean, you guys would have to want to do it. And why would you want to form a fire district for a plan you don't know what it is?
Exactly, that's how you put
But that's exactly right. I don't know if this connects.
So it's really putting the cart before the horse. You have this fire district, all those questions asked before the townspeople who would be living in it have had the information that they need to even think about, do we even want this or not? So it is putting the cart before the horse.
I don't see the harm in having a meeting
What's the harm, what's the
when,
purpose?
you,
What's the
so that,
purpose?
so that when and if it comes apart, you have to go forward with it. You'll know that, you'll know all the information of what it is and how it's developed and because there's a lot of questions, which I would think that the homeowners would like to know.
Right, but
That's all.
as Seth just agreed, we will be getting the information about what the actual project would look like at the 90% meeting,
That's right.
not at this attorney meeting.
No, but that will give you an opportunity to ask questions about a fire district. That's about.
But it does sound like you're endorsing the formation of fire district before the 90%.
No, we're not endorsing
I
any, we're not endorsing
understand.
any.
Can't, but saying, giving all the information, because maybe we get 20 people who do this petition and will form a fire district. It sounds like that's what's being recommended. I know you're not.
No, that is
I
definitely.
know, I know,
Hang
I
on.
know, I know. There are other people in question, I'm gonna stay.
When I heard Wendy say just now that one of the people on this board would profit singularly for this, I don't know, but why hasn't that person recused themselves?
First of all, I'm not profiting by it, okay, because they're gonna take my land and use it, and it's gonna reduce my land. I'm not,
Hard to,
okay. Secondly, I haven't made a decision because I don't know all the facts and figures of how they want to install this apparatus that's going to. And if I don't like it, I'm not gonna have them do it.
That
So,
sounds like negotiation to me.
so
And you can't, I thought negotiation, I thought that was.
I don't believe I'm negotiating.
Okay.
There's $100,000 line item in the budget for land acquisition.
Then you already got my land sold, believe me, I'm not interested in selling my land. The only reason why I did this is because this was the site that they looked at it and I let them take samples and do test pits to see whether it was a viable site. I'm not sure that I want to do it. And they have a series of questions about it, which they have not addressed my concerns yet.
But just following up with Francis's question, when Suzanne was on the board and the Alpine Meadow was being discussed, she had to recuse herself in one discussion. Why have you not had to do that job?
Well, I'm certainly, I'm not voting, I'm just running the meeting, I'm not
You
voting.
weren't voting on the Alpine Meadow either. I'm just saying, I'm just asking questions as they say on Fox News.
and I'm not sure about the protocol of this, but when it's a subject. And excuse me, I didn't know it was you, but when it's a subject that really does appear to have your self-interest in mind, I just wonder why the protocol isn't that somebody else on the board chairs that part of the meeting to kind of protect you from
I'm at
situation.
Morgan and I are at every wastewater meeting. Sometimes Joe's there.
This meeting,
Okay, but
When
he's
we meet,
speaking for us
no,
now.
what I'm talking about is when we meet
Yeah,
with the people from the state, we meet with them every other week.
yeah.
Morgan and I are there every time, almost. Joe's there sometimes, he's not there every time. But Joe is never, just everyone knows, Joe is never alone discussing this
That's not my concern.
with the people from the state.
Not my concern.
No,
Not my
I'm
concern,
worried about
open meeting
talking
law.
to us tonight, I'm wondering why it's not you giving us that information instead of
Hey,
somebody
no
else.
problem. I don't have a
I'm
problem.
happy, I have been giving, I've been giving a lot of information as we're talking, I'm happy to do it.
And it can go the other way. It could be not to your benefit, it could be to your detriment. I mean, that's it's about the open meeting law. It's not about the meetings over the state. That's my.
If that's the issue, I'm happy to
Okay.
take these questions and lead the discussion on them, I'm happy to do that.
I think it would keep it plain, honestly.
And I'm happy to talk to anybody about anything they want to.
So if we went ahead with this meeting. And the 20 people or whatever it is, had no appetite for it. This whole thing is done at that point, is that right?
Well, not at that point, because the grant's still there till 2026, so at some point after they get the 90%, at some point during that time period, if 20 people in the town say, this actually looks like a good idea to me, and they want to form a fire district and move forward, but they can.
I guess if you went ahead with this meeting, it would kind of be almost like taking a straw poll to see what the appetite actually is for this project.
I guess the way I'm envisioning it is, it's an opportunity for people to ask questions. Is that every meeting we've had about this, and people ask me questions about a fire district, I am an attorney, but I'm a personal injury attorney. If you get in a car crash, I can help. I don't know much about fire districts in the state of Vermont. So I envision this as a question and answer type session, so people can ask questions to somebody who's informed about this. Like, what is this fire district? What does it entail? What would, what's gonna take it away from me? What would it, how would it benefit me? Things like, that's the way I'm looking at it, not, now you gotta sign on the dotted, and if there was any impression that now you gotta sign on the dotted line from a fire district, that's not the way I'm looking at it. It's just an opportunity for people to ask questions, but someone who knows as authority on this and knows about it. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. It's just really a question and answer session with the person who knows about fire districts.
So this fire district meeting, was it for a formal binding votes or not?
No, just so they can have.
So this is just informational.
That's what I thought it would be. That's what I envisioned it.
Go ahead, Sid.
So I think that the concerns of the people who live in this area have been so well voiced already, but I do have a question that causes us to step back. Because what I think I'm hearing is that regardless of the timing, whether we decide to form a fire district now or after the 90% meeting, and by the way, I think we need to have the information before you can talk about fire district. But what I'm not clear about is how the idea of a fire district came up to the select board in the first place. And why is it that now what we're hearing is that if we have the 90% meeting and then we decide not to form a fire district, that the project is dead? How did that come to be?
And see, this is a good question. You can ask Steve. He can answer it with more authority than I can, the attorney.
But you as a select board, Rich, John, Joe, Kathy, Seth, came to us with this letter proposing that we consider and go to a meeting, a public meeting, about answering our questions about the fire district. And you, in a public meeting, are saying that if we don't form the fire district, the project is dead. A project we've been working on in this community for almost 20 years. We have a once in a lifetime opportunity for a $4 million grant. That the votes of 40 people who live in a particular area are going to be a thumbs up, thumbs down on that project. This is new information to me. That a necessary step in this process was the formation of a fire district.
It was news to us when we learned that too.
Who did you learn it
From the
from?
people from the state of Vermont. You have to form a fire district, the fire district.
And Ty and Bond didn't know this?
And who, it was, I mean, I just wanna, and I'll get back to the others whose questions are so good. I checked with the Secretary of State today, and I said, where is there a requirement that we form a fire district in order to have a wastewater system in town? What Jenny Prosser told me is that there's no such requirement. And that if there is any requirement at all, it might be from the Agency of Natural Resources. If the Agency of Natural Resources has a requirement for us to have a fire district, we should have something in our hands that says that.
The only,
And our select board who's putting this in front of us should have deep knowledge of why that's happening.
the only thing I can say is that when Seth and I met with Steve Ancuda about, because they encouraged us to put, the state encouraged about the fire district. He had the Title 19. I think it was Title 19, is it Seth? And it's in the, it's in regulations in the state that you have to do this.
I think
We were dumbfounded.
the select board should take an action item for all of us in this community.
And I
And
would,
provide to us the rationale for having to form a fire district or a wastewater district in order to go forward with this project. In the very words of this letter, it says to proceed beyond a plan and implement the wastewater system. The wastewater district needs to be created. You had to have some authority from somewhere with that sentence.
that's the law.
So
That's
let's see.
that's the legal advice we were given.
Okay, so I think that's what we need to see, because this has changed the entire dynamic of this project. It is known to us that there are people who live in an area who take the initiative themselves in full knowledge that they'll have to implement, finance, and maintain a wastewater system. That they take that upon themselves and say, we'd like to form a fire district select board. That's what we're here to do. This is new information to us, isn't it?
It's huge.
And we rely, you are a representative government. We have to rely on you.
I
Tell us where this
understand
comes
this is
from.
new
And
information.
until we have that,
I
I think this
understand,
project's on hold.
I understand this is new information, but honestly, it's something that should have been done from the beginning. That you had to have a fire district, and why I came in late on this. Should have been, I wasn't there when they did all these studies a long time ago. Somebody should have known that you have to form a fire district. They didn't, no one,
Why
evidently,
wouldn't the general counsel for the Secretary of State's office not know this?
the legal,
And the expectation would be for us as normal citizens to know.
no, I'm saying for the people that were initially on the committee that studied on this.
The people on the committee had advice from state government and from, and we did not know about this. We
And that-
were asked to turn the project completely over, and that happened.
That is
If we
the,
were remiss in not knowing that, then the new committee had a chance all over again, Seth, to find this information out before now. Or even now.
we were given legal advice by VLCT, by Stephen Kuda, and from the people in the state we meet with, that it has to be a fire district form.
I trust you. I trust you. But do we have, as citizens, who will be greatly impacted by such a district? Do we have the skill set in our 40 people, in our 84 properties?
In our meeting,
finance,
think of how old. we are.
Maintain and implement a wastewater system. I mean,
Yeah.
I of all people admire the expertise that you bring to this board, Seth. But at some level, it's got to be shared with us. We do not know the legal foundation for having to take this important step.
But
I
that,
think that's the very, very next step, and I think this whole letter and whole project are on.
Well, and
hold.
that is what Steve Ancuda, who is the attorney, who can answer these questions and give you a better answer than I can on that.
That's why we set the meeting up.
The
Want to set it up.
letter
The letter
states,
is.
how can we send a letter to 84 property owners with a select board ourselves saying that you'll get the answer to these questions? Who wrote this letter?
It was a combination of the board, committee, and Steve Ancuda.
And then Steve Ancuda was originally going to be here tonight.
No, he was never here. He was never-
We were hoping-
What is the-
There was.
You're hoping he could be here tonight, but he couldn't make it.
what is his relationship to the town?
We're hoping he will be the town attorney. As of right now, he doesn't have a relationship.
Right now, he's the attorney for the wastewater committee, and that he gets paid by the grant.
I respectfully request that, I think that Lisa has put it very well. The cart is before the horse here. This is not an initiative by citizens of this district. This is something that feels like new information. And we can't go forward right now until we know the legal reason for the formation of such a district. Because if it's really true, a thumbs up, thumbs down in the hands of these people, who then would have to agree to accept the weighty responsibility of implementing, financing, and maintaining a wastewater system. This takes a skill set. This takes an infrastructure. It takes citizens.
These are all true statements. I mean, these are all true statements, but I think that's why you need to speak with and have questions and answers. Questions asked and answers given to you by someone who's an authority in this area.
So
Who has-
what you're saying is we need the answers to those questions at the meeting, and I'm saying to you, please, as our representative government, give us a factual reason for being at the meeting. That's what I don't think.
Fire districts are formed when there are services, for example, a wastewater system that's not available to residents all over the town. They're available, this service will be available only to residents within a designated district. In those instances, fire districts are formed to manage that system. Happens all over the state of Vermont. That's where it's done.
Are they required to be, or are they?
That is what we have been told by the people from the state and from Stephen Good.
When you say the people from the state, are you referring to Lynette?
Yes.
Representatives in the Agency of Natural Resources?
That's who we meet with.
So I guess I don't, maybe I'm gonna stop. I guess I don't understand why the idea of providing to this community of voters or to the entire town the legal foundation for the requirement to set up a wastewater district in order to use the $4 million grant that this town has been given. Exists. I don't know.
To solve a problem that doesn't exist. That's the other thing.
I will say this, Suzanne, that, and I said this to Steph, and I said it to Morgan. This should have come out right at the beginning. From either Time Bond or from the state. And we've met with many, many individuals in the state. This only came out recently, within the last 3 to 4 weeks, about this fire district thing. And I think it was mishandled by both the engineer and by the state, quite frankly. Because this was something that I don't think anybody ever thought that there was gonna be just a group of people who are going to either vote for it or run it. But that's what the law says. And I'm not an attorney, but Steve Ancuda, at a meeting that Seth and I had with him, he read it off and he said, this is what you have to do. That's all I can say.
The
And
reason
what
is,
did the select board, did you bring that up to the select board, Rich? What did you think of that?
When I was reading all through the emails, I took out of it, this is the mechanism how this moves forward. More than they were trying to hide something from us, it was kind of. Again, this is the mechanism that you need to do before. And at the 6% meeting, the person that was there for that, they did come out and, well, the only people that are gonna be affected by this are the people in that district. So by extension of that, maybe he was kind of telling us at that point there was gonna be a fire district. So is it like an unsaid?
You got him too. Yeah. Oh, Hardy. Have them both.
Let's see.
They're in the same room. Sorry, I can't do that.
So, I mean, is it, are they trying to hide something from us, or is it just, this is how it's done? You should have known that, I'm not sure,
This is the
I'm not
third,
sure.
this is the third time we've been through this in this town, it's never done before, and it would have been true all those times. Nothing changed, so, I mean,
I'm not
the
sure.
Ty and Bond did it before with us, I mean, it's. I think we wait to the 90% and then we do it, that's kind of thing. No hurry.
I mean, my understanding of reading all this, though, if there isn't a fire district formed, then the project is dead. That's from what I read of all emails that I have seen.
That's right.
Because it is, if the fire district is not formed, then the project is dead.
But does the-
That's what I get from the emails that I read.
And then we can move forward with the filtration system, so people can drink their water,
There-
which is really the problem in town.
and that is a possibility, yes.
I have a question, that we go forward with this question and answer, that whoever comes to speak for us, there must be other towns that have wrestled with this.
Yeah, and that's what he does. He made,
Well, one would like
Yeah.
several other examples of how they worked with it, didn't work with it, who voted up, down, so, and he should come with it, not he, they should come prepared with more than just one or two, they should have.
well, Joe and I asked him a lot of questions about that, actually. And he was heavily involved in, Westminster, joined up with Fellows Falls, he was heavily involved with that, all the issues that went along.
Well, he's also, Londonderry is going through the same process we are for a septic system. And they had a meeting there about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he was there presenting the law. I read that in one of the blogs there.
So he knows how happy Westminster is about their fire.
Oh, yeah, he knows about issues.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, he knows the issues,
Oh, he knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's what he was talking to us about, the issues, yeah.
The other thing about this letter, how are we nearing the end of the planning phase of a potential wastewater system? We really are nearing the end of it?
Yeah, the 90%
Yeah.
base is in January.
That's the end, okay.
Don?
We don't have a report, a written report for the
Yeah.
60%. And we also don't know if the filtration system, which is an immediate need in our community, it's not a future risk, it's an immediate need, is it going to be included in the 90%?
It
Is
is.
it going to be?
Don, you had your hand up?
Yeah, how does the petition to get the 20 signatures begin and what's the timeline for it?
I don't know.
Okay, so what happens if there's a petition of, what did you say there were 45 voters? So if 25 people tell you not to do it, then does that stop the process?
For all purposes, right?
I would like to hope,
Negative petition.
I would hope that we could have this meeting on the 15th. So that all these questions can be asked to an expert who knows all about this. Rather than us sitting here trying to tell you bits and pieces that we are having a tough time actually grasping ourselves.
Just as a
And
point.
did you read the statute? Last time we met, that's how the state set up the law.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, long.
Right.
It's a state law.
It's just.
who can vote for it?
Hold on a second.
John, you keep talking about state law. If you could give us, or if you can get someone to give us, real quick, the statutory authority or the regulatory authority for the fire district, a lot of this would go away.
Okay. That's- You can, if there's a, and I think we're gonna put on the website. How to form a fire district, a step-by-step guide to help a community get organized. And that in there, I was about to answer your question. That in there has the statute, Title 20, Chapter 171. So, but if you look through that, it's a very informative discussion about fire districts. And it will tell you all about it.
So what is the statute? And can you send it out to the distribution list that Morgan has?
Yeah, it's all, again, it's on the town website, the document.
I've looked at that document. The document is largely about all of the infrastructure requirements that are necessary.
It starts off by what is a fire district,
No.
things to consider in the formation. And that's Title 20, the statute is Title 20, Chapter 170.
It doesn't say why, that's the thing, it doesn't say why, it only says how. How. And it sounds like you
And
amended it.
your experience reading that statute, did it come across as?
It's unclear, you like many statutes.
Must.
I will say this,
It must have been.
lawyers write things so people can't understand them, right?
Well, they have different opinions, each one has a different.
And that's why you have judges, right? I mean, we all see the Supreme Court, a judge will read a statute. Well, Clarence Thomas will read a statute, and he has a totally different opinion of what that statute means than, Ruth Bader Ginsburg did before she died, right? These are judges reading the same thing. So, that's why it's helpful to have a person who has a lot more knowledge with this than Joe or I or anybody up here does, who can give you a better understanding. Maybe he will say, look, no, you don't have to form a fire district. Whatever the Agency of Natural Resources told Seth and Joe, they're wrong. The whole town could, if they wanted to get together. Maybe that's what it'll tell you. But, as Suzanne said, she got a different information from the Secretary of State. And she said, well, maybe the Agency of Natural Resources told her that. And it's just like when we talk to the state, we have one department tell us one thing. With this whole drinking water thing, we have one department that says you had to have a drinking water system. Or you can't do anything. And they said, people said, no, that's ridiculous. So we're doing the best we can with the limited amount of time and resources we have to do things. We're trying to give you guys, the end of the day, all we're trying to do is give you guys the best information we can give you so you can make an informed decision about what you want to do. That's all we're trying to do.
And that's what the intent of having the letters going out so that everybody understood. And then we would have the meeting on the 15th with the expert and all the questions could be asked. Believe me.
I think the only piece of the puzzle that's missing is this. There is a stark binary decision, go, no go, on whether that does not seem to be clear.
Yeah, and
And it
I agree.
doesn't seem to have any foundations. But Don, who researches everything, I trust, he says, you don't form a district, the project doesn't go. Yeah, $4 million at stake.
10 million, really.
We really do need to know the answer to that.
I agree. I agree.
And I
That's
don't
what-
see how Steve Ancuna can answer that question in a way.
Because he can, because that's what he does.
That's what he does.
That's what he does. He works with these towns to form fire districts. I mean, that's what he does municipal law and he does some other stuff too, but his main practice is municipal law.
I'm
we
wondering
can
if
go
we
on.
could- I'm wondering if we can have a conference. This letter, I think, Wendy made an excellent point. This letter is by your own admission, containing content that really we don't understand.
And people don't read, they will not read this.
Go ahead.
The letter has not,
It sounds to me as if we need all the details And we don't have the details until we meet with this other person,
That's it,
lawyer, whatever you wanna call
that's right,
him, the expert on that.
that's exactly,
That's exactly what we were trying to do.
that's exactly right.
Why don't we just set up that meeting that Kirk just
That's fine.
described and not have this letter?
That's okay.
This letter, especially during the Christmas season, it just.
That works.
That's fine, and it's probably a better way to do it, is that way, you can ask this guy other questions and he can give you answers.
Okay, so-
We're giving you guys the best answers we can give you, what we've been told.
All right, so can we have a motion that we will not send the letter out and we will have a meeting on the 15th of January with Steve and Kuda prior to the select board meeting and public meeting?
And he has confirmed that he.
Yeah, he confirmed that.
I'll move, I make that motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
No, I think there's been enough.
All in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Oh, okay. All right, the reason why the town attorney is on here is because we found out that Steve, Salmon and Nostrum, Larry Slayson is also the representative of, also is the attorney for the Winter Foundation. And we felt that there might be a conflict there by having one attorney for the foundation, since there might be issues coming forward, and there is one coming forward, which is the culvert pipe. And I think that Steve is more knowledgeable in public municipal than Larry is, and Larry is a little slow on the draw, where Steve is right there. Their fees are the same, or works virtually the same, I think it's $10 difference. And it was our opinion, Seth's opinion, that we bring it to the board to see if we would like to change attorneys.
I was very impressed with Steve when we met with him. I think he's very knowledgeable. He's been very responsive. Well, every time I've tried to contact him, he calls back immediately. I don't have to just send legal questions to DOCD, which is what I was doing forever and waiting for an email response 2 weeks later.
So the reason that we just ask if, want to see the board if the change attorneys, yes, Wendy?
The kind of information, Robin Stern was the town attorney for many years, and she's on the Window Foundation board, and she was there, I believe, her firm represented them before that, and there was never a whisper of conflict. So it's fine you say that, but.
I think one thing that has changed, Wendy, is especially with this, the issue of the culvert that runs from the baseball field.
I understand that,
That's been the, I
but
think, one thing that's changed.
also.
No, that was agreed to, I thought.
No, it hasn't been, no. It hasn't been legally resolved, I understand, but so.
They did, you're right, Don, they did send us an agreement, but an agreement in the letter.
It's not
So
legal.
there's no conflict, it's already.
No, it's not legal.
That's not,
It's not legal. Anyway, the other thing is, to say in a public meeting in front of all of us that Larry Slayson is slow, it's really not fair, because, has he been slow with everybody in the town office or just Bill? I'm gonna come right out and say it, Bill has a problem with Larry Slayson, if you're saying casting aspersions, as I say on Larry Slayson. And I have no problem with Stephen Coot, I think he's probably going to be great, but I think you could say, let's hire Stephen Coot without saying on his own. No,
I don't know about Bill being slow. I know that he
Bill,
is.
I'm not saying Bill's slow, he
No.
says Larry Slayson.
I said, I don't know whether
Oh,
what
okay.
everything about Bill and whatever, just so our own experience, and I think he's a better attorney, quite frankly.
That's really not something to say.
Well, just for the record, I do want to say that I have worked closely with Larry, and I've never had a problem getting in touch. He does respond to me, and I believe he responds to Morgan, but I understand anything you want to change to. But I just want to say I've always had a working relationship with Larry.
I've never met Larry Slayson. I've never spoken.
I used to do the Cornell, so he was perfectly
I
fine.
just don't think it's appropriate to say something like that.
I've never spoken to him, I don't know who he is,
So
so.
I've worked with Larry in past years and I've never had a problem with it. It's always started.
Yeah.
So I don't know what.
Same as me. He's talking a lot.
Okay, it's good to know.
But I will say, it is a little odd for two entities that potentially could clash to have the same attorney. That's probably not the right way.
And I think that's what
I
actually started this, was the issue with the culvert.
Yeah.
That's what started getting into attorney. That's my recollection.
And I think Larry, Steve is more, familiar with public municipality stuff than Larry is.
He's semi-retired, never retired or something. Larry, I think so. Or he's thinking about retiring or something.
There is down now.
I'll make a motion to hire Steve and get it done.
One second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Joe, did we vote on hiring him for the wastewater?
No, I don't think we have.
We keep saying he's the attorney for the wastewater.
We have not hired.
He's not hired.
Well, we've been using.
Yes, as a consultant, but the grant pays his fees.
Well, so far, he has not sent a bill.
No.
Yeah,
No, he has not billed anything.
either way, what authority does anybody have to use him if the whole entire select board has not been involved in it?
We had an initial consultation, but we asked him questions, see if he'd be a right person to do that, and that's all we did. Now, he has not been hired by, that's the wastewater committee attorney.
Well, I just brought up a little while ago that he wants to do wastewater.
Well, he's been consulting for us, and he's the one we went to, about the fire district, when they told us that we needed when the state told us we had to have a fire.
Well, I think if we're gonna use it, we ought to vote on the, select board ought to vote on it, so.
Well, sure, you want to amend the motion?
Then becomes our municipal attorney.
Wait a minute.
He's the county attorney now, so he can offer advice.
So we can't hire him in the fire district to represent us at any point? We have to hire their legislative meeting? No, I'm not joking. I mean, we can't hire him.
I don't know if there, I don't think there'd be a conflict there,
Oh, I don't.
but, I don't know. That's way down the road. That's a hypothetical radar.
If he's the town attorney, then he can advise on the wastewater, and then that fee gets paid by the grant.
So what do you say, it might be too much as far as trying to separate the grant money from town money, is that what they're doing?
No, I'm just saying, it was brought up that Huda was the wastewater attorney, and I don't ever remember voting on that. I don't think there was ever any vote. No. And I think there should be a vote. I'm not against it, I just.
No, I would not say.
So why don't you amend the motion that he becomes town
I'll-
attorney, and we'll,
I can make a second motion.
okay.
I'll make another motion that he be.
Now, let's, the first motion is to hire Larry Sullivan. All
We
in
already,
favor?
we already voted.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
I know the word.
We already voted on it.
make another one.
Second motion should be that. Not very expensive, which I'm looking at. Steve Ancuda as the wastewater committee attorney.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, Kim, you have anything?
Nope, I don't.
Kim, do you have that information that I asked you about?
I do.
You skipped my.
That's fine. Oh, yeah, I missed the highlight.
Like you do.
I don't have anything.
Sorry, Mike.
Change the weather and hauling gravel, that's about. Nothing exciting.
Oh, I have a question while I'm talking so much. There used to be, I thought, a priority list for plowing and blah, blah, blah and all that. Wasn't there back in the day? Like certain roads were like, you sold that road, what
Still sort of.
there is, but it's not like that.
You're on the last.
Oh, I don't wanna be, I'm fine, I don't wanna be, but I'm just
Yeah,
curious if there's still. I'm just, that's what I thought about school buses.
It's,
Okay.
Committee reports?
I don't have anything.
Oh, we just need to meet afterwards.
Okay.
We need to have an executive session.
Other business, John, you wanna talk about the nature museum thing? No?
No, they don't think out the nature museum, is there's the only pond next to the road, and we don't know where the water's gonna go, except into the ditch that is in the town right away. And when it goes into there, it's gonna fill up, and then it's gonna come towards the school and go down the school street. And I think Mike went over and spoke to the contractor, and he said there was no overflow design for it.
That pond,
Yeah, the nature museum.
yeah, there's no overflow. It's
But where's the water gonna go?
Theoretically, there should be no more water than there was before. We'll see.
Is that what they said?
I don't know why we were not involved in the project to begin with, seeing it's right
Well,
out
there's,
now.
it's actually not within the town's right of way,
We have those.
but there was no actual outlet. for the
But we're
pond.
gonna get water from that,
We'll see.
we do every year.
Well, we went over there and cleaned the ditch out as far as we could possibly go with it. Yeah. Hopefully we can.
I'll then suggest that we write a letter to the Nature Museum and just tell them that we're concerned about it.
I think we should.
Because I know we've had problems there every year with water.
Yeah, the stone wall doesn't help, because the stone wall actually sends the water right back towards the nature museum, and then it runs around by the mailbox and down the street and down School Street.
What if that-
It's a challenge. Because we're at that point, the water, it starts dropping back towards the village and not going the other way. So it's hard to capture the water. Once you get your mailbox.
Well, when they put the pond in, they have natural resources, have to go through all those permits to put a pond in?
No idea.
But they never notify us.
Yeah, right.
Oh, there again.
Usually, just usually.
You wanna make a motion there? Can we send a letter?
Yeah, I make motion, we send a letter to the Nature Museum and tell them we're concerned.
Is there a second?
Second.
I know.
Any other discussion? All in favor of sending a letter to the Nature Museum, venting our concern about, overflow, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Do we have any public comment?
What do you say?
We had a lot, but you can move.
Yeah, about the business.
We did other business. You have other business to do?
No, did you say other?
John, yeah, John did.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so the next regular meeting will be on Monday, December 18th, here at 6 p.m. And now we need a motion to go into executive session. So good.
Second.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.